Hello again, Carl Bianco here, the head pro from Woking Golf Club, back again, just with a really quick review of the two new hot products on the market this year, the TaylorMade Stealth driver and the Callaway Rogue ST driver. You'll have seen them both on telly many times by now if you're watching golf on a Sunday night. This is a test done again for the people in a golf club who don't swing at the 100 miles, 95 or plus miles per hour speeds that you see on most YouTube reviews. This is all conducted at around about between 85 and 90 miles per hour, which is the average swing speed we see for a teen handicap or maybe in the 20s, mid-handicap player. And I thought that would be a bit more useful to you than seeing somebody bust it sort of 300 yards. Not many people can equate to that. So what I've done is I've hit loads and loads and loads of shots to try and get the data as pure as I can for you. I've actually split each of the shots up for each of the clubs into half with draw and half with fade, or slice and hook, just to see how they perform under all conditions. And then alongside them, I've actually, for comparison purposes, I've been hitting an old TaylorMade jet speed driver. So this dates back to 2014. In its day, this was really hot off the face and led the way to some of these new ball speeds that we see. The claims of the new clubs are obviously that technologically we've got a carbon face in the TaylorMade. We've shifted loads of weight around in the Callaway to make it much more stable and more forgiving. I'll give you my opinions at the end as to what the improvements are, if any, and we'll see if they actually move the ball further up the hole for you, which obviously is probably the most important thing. So let's have a couple of hits and then we'll have a look at how the results came out. Okay, well let's start with the 8-year-old jet speed driver from TaylorMade. Back in the day, very hot off the face. Really was a good selling golf club. Very lightweight shaft at 50 grams in here, regular flex. And I'm going to be swinging it, I say, between 85 and 90 miles an hour, which reflects most members' club head speed, if I'm honest. Let's see how this feels. Okay, so a fairly traditional titanium sound, not too tinny or hollow. Felt okay, no problem at all. You'd obviously play the shot, you'd be happy with that. 88 miles per hour has given me just about a 200-yard carry. Again, excellent, very good. During the testing, you'll see later, I hit half the shots with a draw and half the shots with a fade or slicey type action to see how the club reacted on downhill, down angle blows and upswings, into out paths, out to in paths. I actually hit a lot of shots here just to try and pick the data which was most useful to you and that reflected the performance of the club for all types of player. So let's have a hit with the Callaway ST Rogue. So a lot of claims from Callaway about stability. There's a lot of weight shifted with lots of carbon pieces on the sole here. Big jailbreak frame behind the face to give it more stability. Should perform better off more areas of the face. And actually you'll see in the results that was actually definitely the case with both of the modern day drivers. But let's just have a little feel of this one. Again, regular shaft that they've put in as standard. And I'll swing round about 88 miles an hour again. Okay, very similar result. 89 miles an hour, actually one further. Yep, landed just over 200, gone out to about 230. So that reflects a lot of members driving. That one interestingly came quite far off the toe and has still performed really, really well. And that definitely did come out in the testing. And then finally, let's have a little hit of the Stealth. Everyone's talking about the Stealth. Again, carbon face technology in the Stealth, replacing titanium. Big leap forward, they say, in technology. Looks slightly different, obviously, because it's red. I thought it was going to sound a bit strange hitting it off carbon, but actually, as you'll hear, not really. It doesn't resonate in a slightly different way. Much bigger head, 22% bigger hitting area here in the face because of the ability to use carbon. Therefore, by definition, we can hit more of the face and we get better results off shots that are further from the centre. So for most club golfers, that's as important as the shot that comes right out the middle. So let's have a hit of this. Again, slightly different look behind the ball, jet black. There's a sort of perimeter of shiny black around the outside, and you can definitely tell it sits a little bit deeper in the face behind the ball. less traditional, I would say, is the way I'd put it. Let's have a little shot with this one. Okay, tiny little bit of a pull. Again, didn't feel or sound like carbon off the face. It sounded very similar to the others, to be honest with you. And I've hit a lot of shots with all of them. They're very, very enjoyable to hit the new clubs, and particularly when you don't hit the middle. Rather than getting the big feeling of an off-centre hit in your grip and your hands where you feel it, they tend to be a lot more stable, to the point where actually you can't tell sometimes which part of the face you've hit, which has probably got to be a good thing for most golfers. So let's have a look at the results and see what actually happened in real life. Well, I'm really sorry about the busy screen of data here, but I just wanted to show you that these were the shots that I hit, and just to confirm that I hit half the shots with an in to out swing with an upward blow on the ball, and then half the shots with an out to in swing with a downward blow on the ball. And I hit lots and lots more shots than this, but I just picked the most average ones to reflect both styles of swing, because that's what we have in a golf club, and see how the club performed on average. Obviously, we all know that an in to out club path with an upward blow is going to send the ball further, but we do have people who cut and slice the ball in golf clubs, and we need to fit drivers for them as well. So in every batch, whether it's the Stealth, the Rogue, I've got the same 4 out to inners and 4 in to outers across the board. The club head speed, you'll see when we compare them here, is incredibly similar. So you can see I've done the club head speed within 1/10 of a mile an hour, is averaged out exactly the same. So it's a fair test, I think, of how it performed. And let's just, first of all, before we go back to that screen, have a look at how they actually worked out. So the ball speed here off the face, given that the club head speed was the same, you would expect a little bit of an uplift over 8 years of technology, but the manufacturers have stopped shouting about this a little bit now in terms of pure ball speed and distance. There are marginal gains, 2 miles per hour here, because the R&A have limited the COR, or the trampoline effect. What they're now saying is that you will get that ball speed off more parts of the face, therefore drivers are more forgiving. And I'll show you that in a second. Interestingly, the backspin rate on all 3 of these drivers is obviously between 1900 and 2300. Pretty optimal, actually, if you want to hit the ball quite a long way. Even with the cut shots on most of these, the spin didn't raise up too high. And actually, this is kind of what I expected to see. There are marginal gains in distance. This is the carry distance, 191 with an 8-year-old driver, up to the Stealth, actually just outbeating the Rogue by 2 yards, but they were incredibly similar over the testing period. And actually, well, by the time you take in the backspin into account, the run out ends up identical here. So, when you're looking at £400 plus for a driver, would you do that for another 8 yards up the hole? That's where it gets a little bit debatable. Even though I sell them for a living, I think we have to be objective about it. So if it is purely based on distance these days, probably isn't going to be enough to make you want to change driver. However, there are definite gains in terms of forgiveness. And I deliberately picked shots here which highlighted this. So the jet speed, which is the green dot up here, is nearly in the optimal strike position, probably a fraction lower and a fraction nearer the middle. About here would have been perfect, but I deliberately picked shots from the other 2 that were way off centre on the golf club. And most amateurs hit the ball on the toe side of the club, so I chose those. And these are quite a long way from the centre, up to 2 centimetres away, some of these. And 3 on occasions. So that's quite a miss hit, as it were. But so to see the drivers of the modern day period go 8 or 9 yards longer with a shot that's significantly further from the middle of the club, I think that demonstrates how much more forgiving these are. And there was no real sacrifice to the shape of shot either. We would have found in the old days that a ball that was hit this far off the toe would hook disastrously, almost duck hook, because of the gear effect. You get loads of hook spin from a toe strike, but the manufacturers have managed to start reducing this effect to give you a more neutral ball flight on off-centre hits. So it's very interesting. One other thing for a techies here that interested me was the lie angle. So the lie angle with the jet speed was 11 degrees upright. That was TaylorMade's way, and the other manufacturers, to be fair, back in the day, of giving you draw spin to try and alleviate the terminal problem of slicing. So the more upright you put the head, the more left it's facing address, and just you can see it's a significant difference with the modern day clubs, and that's what makes it look slightly strange at address when the toe of the club is so high off the ground. So the more modern day clubs look better behind the ball, they sit better, and they're not as upright, and yet the dispersion pattern that we saw is pretty even across the range, to be honest with you. The Stealth was particularly tight in my testing that I did. So really, in conclusion, that is my review at 85, 87 miles an hour swinging for most club members. Yes, there's a slight marginal gain in distance. You may be looking to change your driver. If so, you will gain a few yards, but more importantly, your bad shots, the shots not near the middle of the golf club, will go better. Some of the interesting results that came out when I did hit slap bang out the middle of the modern day clubs, they were up to 15 yards longer instead of the 8 or 9 that you saw. So that, I mean, for centre strike, they were significantly longer. I deliberately chose to highlight the fact that they even go longer when you don't hit the middle of the golf club. So I hope that's been useful for you. If you want to dabble around and come and have a test, then by all means do. All of the clubs I hit today were 10.5 degree regular. In the modern day world, we have several different heads for each range now. One's encouraging draw spin, one's encouraging low spin for the better players, and these are now fully fittable for delivery from TaylorMade from now and from Callaway for a couple of weeks' time. So by all means, come and have a trial, test them against your own driver over a series of shots and see if they offer a significant improvement if you're looking to change your driver. Well, thanks for listening. I'll be back looking at more products and things as we go forward. Until then, enjoy your golfing and we'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.